Assalamualaikum and good day to Safauzi and everyone. Today, my group is going to present on project entitled Smart Street Light. There are 6 members in this group, including me, which Muhammad Hazwan Zulkifli, Eva Glenn Robert, Fazlaili Nuzul Azam, Nurin Yasmin Zulkairi, Nur Akila Abdul Ghani, and me, Nurina Alia Zulkifli. So this is the contents that we are going to present. We have introduction, problem statement, objective, product description and detail, programming flowchart, circuit diagram, coding, and lastly, result and discussion. I'm going to present on introduction. Let's not waste any time. So what is the smart street light? Okay, basically, smart street light is a ray source of a light on the edge of a street which works automatically. This is accomplished through a sensor known as a light-dependent resistor, LDR, which detect light in the same way that humans' eyes can do. The smart street light has indirectly benefited to the world and public. By applying this system, the manual work can be eliminated. With the use of advanced and powerful system, automation intends to minimize the manpower. At the same time, can reduce the usage of electricity and conserve the energy. The energy conservation can preserve the resources such as natural gas. Natural gas is an example of non-renewable resource. The human could not able to recreate the non-renewable resource. The smart street light capable to give the contribution on energy conservation because the street light do not operate 24 hours. It can lower the energy cost and can reduce the use of non-renewable source. For information, the top cause of a car accident is driving at night. Regarding to the case, there must have a system which contribute to the most important safety criteria in today's world. At night, one's capability to see and estimate the distance is significantly hampered. In fact, the driver has very poor visibility since there are no street lights. The eyes requires light to see. The smart street light is one of a solution in order to reduce the rate of car accidents during night. Besides, can decrease the crime rate, for example, robbery and rape. I think that's all from me. Akila will continue with the next slide.
My name is Nurul Akila binti Abdul Ghani, and today I'm going to present on the problem statement and also objective. First of all, for the problem statement, lighting is currently being one of the largest sectors worldwide, where lighting accounts to be about 20% to 30% of the use of energy. Street light shows to be used much of electric energy where it is automatically turns on and off according to the darkness and brightness of its surrounding. Most street light use compact fluorescent lamp, CFL, sodium vapor lamp, and incandescent light bulb, which all of these lamps will lead to electricity waste. Therefore, this waste should be accounted. Thus, the purpose on this task is to design a device that can reduce the waste of electricity. The idea of the smart street light is to build a street light that can automatically detect the movement from vehicles so that the light will only turn on during the presence of vehicles on the street. To make the project success, the installation of motion sensor which can sense the moving vehicles on the street can easily be regulated. In addition, the idea on using LED could also help in achieving maximum efficiency of street light. Moving on to the next slide for our project, which is smart street light, is firstly to design a minimum use of amount of electricity for street light. Second, to build a maximum efficiency of street light. Next is to minimize the cost overall energy expenditure. Next is to increase the safety for for the streets user. And finally, to reduce the manpower.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurin Yasmin Zulkairi. Now I will explain the product description and details. Our group had decided to produce a smart street light system. The component that we use for these systems are 1 Arduino Uno board, 3 LEDs, 1 IR sensor, 1 LDR sensor, 1 LCD, 5 resistors, 1 breadboard and jumper wire. For the working principle, first, on daytime, all the LEDs and IR sensor will be turned off even though there is vehicle passing by the road. This is because users can see clearly without the help of light on that time. At night, the LED will be turned brightly if there is vehicle passing by the road. The IR sensor will detect the presence of the vehicle and turn on the LED brightly. The Stay Safe LCD display will be turned on in both day and night to remind the user to drive safely. This is our programming flowchart. First, after we start, the LDR sensor value must be lower than 100 and the IR sensor value must be lower than 300 in order to turn on the LED brightly to the value of 255. If there is no vehicle, the LED value will turn into 8. The LCD display will always turn on if there is vehicle in both day and night. The LCD will stop the display if there is no vehicle on the road.
Assalamualaikum. Now I will continue on presenting about circuit diagram and the components that we use in our project. From the circuit diagram, we can see the connection between the wire and the components very clearly. In this project, we use 2 input and 2 output, which is for the input, we use IR sensor and LDR, and for the output, we use LED and LCD. Next, I will explain to you about the function of the components. So, the main component that we use in our project is Arduino Uno. It is a microcontroller board based on the ATmega328. Next component is light emitting diode, which is LED. It is a semiconductor device that emits light when an electric current is passed through it. For the third one is infrared sensor or IR sensor, an electronic device that emits in order to sense some aspect of movement of its surrounding. It will detect our movement as a human, car, or other object. Next is LCD with 12C module. It contains 16 times 2 character on 2 lines, white character on the blue background. Next is LDR. We use LDR as our input, which is to indicate the presence of light or to measure the light intensity. Next is breadboard. We use breadboard as a platform to build our electric circuit without soldering. Next is 220 ohm resistor. We use resistor to limit the current flow between the LED. The last component is jumper wire. We use the jumper wire to connect 2 pin each other without soldering. So that's all from me.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Fazlaili and I will be presenting the Arduino code for our automated street light. The Arduino programming language is based on a very simple hardware programming language called processing, which is similar to C language. After the coding is written in the Arduino IDE, it can be uploaded on the Arduino board for execution. The Arduino coding starts with importing wire library and liquid crystal library for the LCD. Next, we use int to define the integer for the LED, the LDR, and the IR sensor to each pin that is connected to them. And the next line of coding is to set the LCD address to 0 times 27 for a 16-character and 2-line display. After that, in the void setup, we include serial.begin 9600 to open the serial and set the data rate to 9600 bit per second. Next, we use pin mode to set all LEDs as output, the LDR as input, and the IR sensor also as input. To initialize the LCD, we include lcd.init, and to open the backlight of the LCD, we use lcd.backlight, and that is all for void setup. For the void loop, we start with defining the integer LDR status to read the value of the LDR using the code nlog read LDR, and then we use serial print in to print the value to serial monitor. This is to monitor the opt-in data. Then we decided to use if-else conditional statement to control the street lights. So the first condition is if LDR status, which is the value of LDR, is less or equal to 100, which means it is nighttime, it will enter the if loop. And in the loop, we have set digital write for each LED to high, which means the LED will turn on. And then we also use analog write for each LED to the value of 8. This is to make the LED lights up in low brightness. Next, in this if statement, we use another 3 if statement for each IR sensor, which is IR1, IR2, and IR3. So the first if statement for IR1 is if the value of IR1 sensor is less than 300, it will enter the if loop. And in this loop, we use the same code, which is digital write for LED1 to high, which is turn on LED1, and then analog write LED1 to the value of 255, which means the LED will light up at the full brightness. For the else statement, where the value of IR1 is not less than 300, it will set analog write LED1 to value of 8, which is keeping it at low brightness. For the other 2 if statement, it is all the same except for the IR and LED that is involved. Just like the first, where LED1 is dependent to IR1, the second if else is for LED2 that is dependent to IR2, and the third one is LED3 that is dependent to IR3. And that is all for the very first if statement. So the counterpart of the statement, which means the LDR value is not less than 100, the coding is set to digital write all LEDs to low. This is to turn off all LEDs as it is daylight. Lastly, we code for the LCD using another if-else statement. This if statement uses the logical operator for OR. The statement is that if the value of IR1 or IR2 or IR3 is less than 300, it will enter the if loop. In this loop, we use lcd.clear to make sure the LCD screen is clear, then move the cursor to 00 by coding lcd.setCursor00. Lastly, the code lcd.print stay safe to print the message stay safe. Else, the coding lcd.clear will clear the LCD screen. And that is all for our Arduino coding to program our automated street light. Thank you.
Thank you, my teammates, for passing the floor to me. Once again, greetings, sir, and all my fellow friends. Today, I'm going to show the result of our mini project, Smart Street Light. So how does these things gonna work is during nighttime, when there are any object or people or car passing by this smart street, the IR sensor will detect and the LED bulb will turn on and the LCD will print to stay safe. Same goes to the other IR sensor. It will detect if there is any object in front of it and the LCD will print to stay safe. Same goes to the other IR sensor here. So in this project, we are using 3 LED bulb, 1 LCD, and 3 IR sensor, and we are also using LDR to detect the sunlight so that during morning or during daylight, the bulb will turn off, but during nighttime, the bulb will turn on. This is how our smart street works during daylight. So during daylight, the LDR sensor will detect the sunlight and makes the LED bulb to not turning on because it's daytime. But the IR sensor will still detect if there is any object in front of it, like this, and the LCD will still print to stay safe for the people who are passing by this street. But the bulb will not turn on because it's daylight. For a conclusion, this project have been done successfully because we have achieved all the objectives that have been stated before. In our opinion, the street light system must be designed properly because there are thousand number of street light on the street in Malaysia. This situation can lead to very large amount of energy expenditure used if this system is being made without any further research. So, we must design a street light system that use minimum amount of electricity to avoid this problem. This can save a lot of money for the maintenance of the street light soon. Our smart street light system have been made by following the user's demand for light from the street light available when driving their vehicles at night. In order to minimize the amount of vehicles accident that happen nowadays, we also provide stay safe LCD display along the street to remind the user to drive their car slowly and follow all the road laws to avoid any accident from happen. So that's all from us. Thank you very much for listening this presentation.